It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 48, and we're recording this live. Not for you suckers, but just between Asif and myself, and it is Friday, October 21st, late in the evening because of travel. We're doing this on a Friday. A little bit leery about doing it on a Friday because stuff always breaks on the weekend, right, Asif?
Of course.
Nah.
Yeah.
My name is Rob Woodbridge, obviously from Untether.tv, founded at Rob Woodbridge, and join me, as always, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Well, this is a jam-packed episode. We're talking about Living Social. We're talking a lot of ShopKick activity. A little bit rumors about flying. These rumors about the Groupon IPO coming true at a reduced valuation. And we're talking about a great Canadian company called Poynt. Lots of stuff. A couple of deals, the resource, the product. We're ready to roll. But Asif, you're flying the red eye. You're crisscrossing the fine nation. Where were you this week?
San Jose, California. At the LoCnav conference. Good event. Really good chance to catch up with some of our members, the LBMA's members, and also to kind of see, further integration, further coming together, between the kind of new world of location, the Foursquare, Goala, Groupon world, and the navigation side, the telematics vehicle, Garmin, TomTom, Navtech, all that kind of stuff come together because they are getting closer and closer together, and I think we're going to see more and more of that in the next little bit. So, very good event. Very good event.
Well, usual suspects out there as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Both,
it's a club, isn't it?
Both Schneider, Mike, and Aaron Strout were out there at one point. So
yeah, and that's good. Yeah. Well, I was in your fair city this past week.
Yes.
I spent pretty much the entire week in Toronto and had a great opportunity to speak to the Torstar folks, Torstar Digital. Heard of those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just a small company in Toronto, right? Torstar Digital. I had a great opportunity to sit in or speak at an event last night, in fact, which would have been Thursday night, and my talk was on mobile as art. And I got to thank Deb Hall, who put this together. So Deb, if you're listening to this, really appreciate you inviting me out this. We met on Twitter, and she reached out and said, hey, can you speak? And I said, sure. And I showed up. And I could have been crazy, but I don't think I was. But it was or she could have been crazy. I was thinking about that, but it was a great event, and I really appreciate Deb for putting it on. And it was a packed audience, and
yeah, she's great, and Torstar Digital is doing some pretty cool things. So
yeah, everywhere they are everywhere. It's like City TV used to be everywhere. It's like Torstar Digital everywhere. So it was good. Well, why don't we jump into this?
Yeah, let's cover.
Yeah. Let's. You got 5 good stories, but it's and TomTom is in there as well. But we're going to start with Living Social. Adding this, everybody's adding. I don't think this is an announcement. Adding Twitter integration into iOS 5, but this Me+3 thing is pretty cool. Let's talk about what they're doing.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, like everybody else, they've added this kind of easy integration with Twitter, that iOS 5 brings to the table, and so it just makes it easy for people to share, what deals they've gotten, and nothing innovative or cool about that, but just makes it a little bit that much easier to do. The thing I want to focus on is this new Me+3. First of all, I love the name because it's like exactly what it is. It's so simple. You can't forget it. And the concept is really cool too. So we talk a lot about the lack of innovation, and I think this is a little bit of a cool spin that they've put on the offering that could give them some interesting traction. And so very simply what it is if you get a deal and you share it through this new Twitter integration with 3 friends, and 3 friends take advantage of the deal, so they actually use the deal, then whatever your deal was, so if let's say the original deal was you got 20% off of or 50% off of whatever the product is, if
mani-pedi.
What's that?
A mani-pedi.
A mani-pedi, 50% off the mani-pedi.
Yeah.
Then you go and share.
Wax.
Yeah, and then you go and share this thing, and 3 friends actually buy that deal or use that deal, then the value of your original deal increases. So maybe it goes from 50% to 80%, or maybe it gets free at one point, if it gets shared enough. So,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think this is really cool. I think this is, the idea of something, we've talked about for a while, which is this idea of viral couponing and kind of augmenting the value of, almost a pyramid scheme kind of application here. You know, the more people that, you know, you incent to go and do something, and then they go and incent to do something, you know, the value of the original guy at the top of the pyramid's savings goes, you know, through the roof.
Yeah.
So,
and that's how do you create brand loyalty? I mean, companies have been doing this all over the place, right? Which is, you know, what is it? You know, buy 9 subs, get 1 free. You know, this is one of those things. So you get rewarded for your business. But what I love about this as well, I mean, I don't like the Groupon type of model, but what I like about this kind of concept is that you are rewarding the owner of that downline, basically, of those relationships. And I think that that's great. I think it can be gamed a little bit. So if you have 100,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 followers on Twitter, you have a higher likelihood of kind of dragging the people in there that aren't really directly friends, but your influence is there. So, you know, you certainly...
Yeah, I mean, but influence is influence, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think they care which 3 people actually get the deal, right?
Nope.
You know, as long as you can get 3 in there, you get yours free. So
I like it.
That works. And just one last thing on Living Social before we leave that, because we didn't cover this, but also recently, not this past week, they've also been experimenting with a partnership with Gold Run, who we've talked about before. Yeah. So they started to test some augmented reality scavenger hunt things tied to Living Social deals. And so I think that's cool as well, that they're kind of experimenting and you know, looking at partnerships that way.
Well, and I like that. Living Social is one of these companies that doesn't get a lot of limelight. They're owned by Amazon. And, you know, my love of Amazon is now out there. I've outed myself as an Amazon lover. And I think that this is something that you know, I don't know if I've seen this translate very well into the digital side for what Amazon's doing. It's very much terrestrial. But, you know, once they get this right, you can bet on the fact that they're going to bring it into their digital side as well. So for books and clothes and groceries and everything else that you buy on Amazon.
For sure. So anyways, good on Living Social. For
Living Social.
Me+3.
Wasn't there a band called Living Social?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it was, they should sue.
I'm getting too old to remember things like that.
Living Social. All you have to remember is Bruce Springsteen. That's all you have to remember, quite frankly.
Oh, right. Okay.
All Bruce, all the time.
Right.
And you can't go wrong. Upbeat, downbeat, you know, happy, sad, strife, red collar, blue collar, yellow collar, white collar.
All right. We know
Story
you're
number 2.
Boy.
Every episode from this point forward is going to have a Bruce Springsteen reference.
Okay.
So let's talk about this guy. This is actually a terrible name. terrible. Like TomTom. I mean, that's not a great name either, but at least it's a little bit unique. But TomTom launches this thing called Custom Probe Counts. Like, I think I've had this when I was like 40 years old, right? A little white glove, right? It's like, what is this? Custom Probe Counts, right?
Yeah, the name is brutal. But the offering is pretty
awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
With the name.
So, yeah, and so we say TomTom, but it's actually TomTom.
TomTom.
Apparently.
Yes. And does that mean does that change the custom?
Well, it sounds cooler when you say it like that, TomTom.
But now say custom probe counts in that same thing. You can't.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
I can do that. So, anyways, custom probe. So really, what this is leveraging all the data that they have about you know, roads and traffic data, and what they say is 4 trillion anonymous data points.
That's awesome.
You know, that they collect. And so it's, you know, GPS data from all the probes that they have, you know, roads all over the place, time and day, you know, all this stuff, and in 40 countries too that they cover. And so what they're saying is that if you look at all this data that they have and the traffic patterns around it and things like that, then effectively they can give out an indicator of traffic density around these roads. Yeah. And so why is that useful? It's useful for, you know, if you're looking as a brand to buy a billboard, or you're the billboard company and trying to figure out where to put your next billboards or digital screens, or, you know, all this other kind of place-based media that is, you know, co-located or in proximity of roads or highways, or, you know, these kinds of things. They have a lot of rich data that can tell you where the high traffic, you know, high density areas are. So, I mean, this is like a no-brainer service. I can't believe it didn't exist before. Yeah. So, but hey, I mean, fabulous. Just terrible name. Custom probe counts. Come on.
Name. Custom probe counts. Accounts for what? But you know what? This is really cool. I mean, location. It's about time somebody aggregated this data. We've said many times on the 47 other episodes of this show that data is the key. It's what you do with that data that's even more important. It isn't so much the service. It isn't the check-ins. It's all that kind of stuff. It's what you do with that. It's the collection of data that allows you to infer something of value. And this really shows you, listen, 4 trillion data points. That'll give you a good perspective.
Yep.
Very good perspective. So this is TomTom, just a little bit of work on their marketing, but I think that this is something that I like this a lot. I can't believe it hasn't been active either, or somebody else hasn't done it.
Right.
So TomTom custom probe counts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about a Canadian company, shall we?
We shall.
Talk about a Canadian company working with an Indian company to offer a service to a massive population. Yeah.
So this is, I think this is a great move for Poynt, which is the Canadian company. They've partnered up with a company called the Times Group, which is a very large Indian information service or news service. I don't know how else you want to describe them than that. But basically an aggregator of content in the Indian market. These guys hit something like 858 million mobile subscribers are in the country. That's a pretty big number.
It's crazy.
800. Can I say that again? 858 million mobile subscribers. That's like massive. Okay. And so what they've done is the Poynt application has been running in North America and some other markets for a while. It's got all sorts of functionality in terms of recommendations on places, check-ins, all the usual fare. And so effectively what they've done is an OEM kind of country-specific version of this thing in partnership with the Times Group. It's called TimesPoynt. Is the new thing. So finding businesses around you, click to call the businesses, get directions, browse listings of the websites, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the content obviously is being supplied by the Times Group. That's their business. And Poynt's basically providing the app technology.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
The reach that they have. So what I gather from this relationship, it was announced a year ago, and it's taken a year to get this product out.
Right.
And that's you talk about an investment in time, effort, energy, but it's almost real time. Like it's even movie listings and that kind of stuff. It's pretty comprehensive. Like this is not innovative by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a big market. I mean,
it's just addressing a very, very large market.
30 times the market size in Canada, right?
And a group that's basically said, yeah, look, sure we can go build one, but this one looks pretty good. Let's just use that.
Yeah. A year later.
Yeah,
but and I think that this is on all platforms, right? So this is BlackBerry, Nokia, Android, iPhone, right? So it has to be. So this is a pretty big endeavor. It's pretty, if done right, when you start to think about how advertising or display ads in this thing are going to go, or sponsorship ads or preferred ads. This is such a population. What a huge market.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
858 million mobile users.
Crazy, just crazy.
Yeah. What are we doing here? That's about how many people watch this podcast every week.
Yeah.
858 people so far in 48 episodes. No. So Poynt partners with Times Group of India to launch this localized app called TimesPoynt Local. I love that. I love this thing. I love the fact that Poynt is expanding out to there, and love the fact that a year later this is actually out. So good for them. So, obviously, this is kind of the week, it's been the week of ShopKick, because our last two stories involve ShopKick. And first of all, they announced something called, is it KickBuys?
KickBuys.
KickBuys. And,
they already had KickBuys.
Yeah, so they already had KickBuys. So KickBuys, not to be confused with KickBucks, as you can understand.
Yes.
Maybe they should name it Custom Probe KickBuys. KickBuys. A partnership and some stuff around television. So let's just jam all this together, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the KickBuys thing first. So the KickBuys thing is, or let's actually take a step back and talk about KickBucks and explain what the difference is.
Of course.
KickBuys is their
currency.
You know, the stuff that they've had in all their existing implementations at Best Buy and Target and all these places. You know, you go around, you scan products effectively, and you know, you get soft or virtual dollars in the form of KickBuys rewards that can be used to redeem for other stuff or donate it to charity or whatever. And that's KickBuys.
Yeah.
It's a kind of,
it's a currency.
It's a virtual currency.
Yep.
KickBuys is something slightly different. It's a rewards program that's tied to buying specific products or specific brands, specifically at supermarkets. There's a lot of specificity here, and it's very interesting. And so the specific brands initially are P&G stuff, Kraft, and Unilever products. And the initial grocery or supermarket that they've launched this with is Giant Eagle in the U.S. So this is the combination. Giant Eagle's got about 228 supermarkets where you can go and collect these KickBuys. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. So here's my thing with this. When they originally started doing their business, and we've talked about this before, and they started putting all their indoor location technology in these big retailers like Macy's and Best Buy and Target and Sports Authority, I thought it was great because, you know, I'm a big fan of indoor location, the ability to know somebody's position in the store and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. And then I guess about 3 months ago, we talked about these guys because they started doing all these partnerships with packaged goods brand companies, and you know, so guys like P&G and Disney and all these other guys. And I was less enthusiastic about it, if you recall. And I basically said, I don't like this because I think it's going to alienate some of those big retailers whose technology, you know, whose stores their technology is in. Yep. And I just want to reiterate why I think that's a bad idea. Because if you're Target or you're Best Buy or you're one of these guys, the reality is that your view is it's your store. You own the relationship with the customers. You want to own that brand experience. You want to control the data of who's coming into your stores and what they're doing. And you don't necessarily want that shared with, you know, your competitive retailers or all these other people. And you don't really want to necessarily have the product companies whose products are in your stores talking directly to your customers. Right. And that was my issue with this. I think in some cases it can work, but I think in a lot of cases it's not necessarily a good thing. And I'm already hearing some big retailers, I won't say which ones, kind of pushing back and saying, you know, we don't need this kind of stuff. We'll build our own app. We'll bake the location stuff into our own app. We'll license it from somebody, and we'll make it go that way. So I'm still pretty, I'll say 50-50 or mediocre on the KickBuys thing. It's not complete thumbs up for me.
So, I mean, if I get this right, it's basically that it's featured items in the store, in the Giant Eagle store, that when you buy them, you get kicks, right, or this currency, which is KickBuys. And then they can be redeemed for gift cards, like at different retail partners, is what I'm getting. So they say your song downloads, movie tickets, travel vouchers, Facebook credits to play games, donations, 30 different. So
which is what the KickBuys is. Yeah. Right. The difference is that before you were doing that on the basis of just scanning stuff. Right. Now you actually have to buy specific products. Yeah. From these specific brands. It just
you know, this kind of confusion. So, like, just do one thing. Right? Yeah, that's one thing.
So for me, it's not thumbs up. It's not thumbs down. It's like this.
It's like
But the next story is complete thumbs up for me.
Okay, before we go there, I just want to, because you hit something really clearly with this. Is that, listen. I'm a President's Choice user, all right, is one of my bank accounts, and I get my own the President's Choice bucks, and then, you know, once every quarter I get to buy my groceries for free, right? Because it's a loyalty program.
Sure.
You know, PC owns me, right? And they don't want to share me with anybody. And so, is it going to come a point where like Giant Eagle is a 220 something you know, supermarket franchise, and I've never heard of them. That doesn't surprise me. But I mean, you're not going to see the bigger brands doing this, right? Is this really that mid-sized brand?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the reality is that, again, this is tied to specific products like P&G and Unilever stuff, and those products are carried by Target, they're carried by Walmart, they're carried by a lot of places, and so the question then becomes, okay, is this just the first in a series of these such deals? I don't know. What I do know is I think a lot of these bigger guys, probably are doing their own thing too. And so I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So that's why I'm a total 50-50 on this one. I'm not going to totally slag it. I think there's still some value here, but I don't think this is a home run by any means.
Well, I mean, I think what we're seeing is this massive shift into. And we've talked about this in some of the other company or the products that we've featured here, is that this is no longer about the grocery store. This is about the products inside, and the grocery store is just the vessel or the roof over the products. And that's really what ShopKick is saying here. Is that, but I like it. The one thing I do like about this is that I like that these brands or any brand can influence a consumer's decision to go in and buy that product. It doesn't matter about shelf height, where they're stored on it anymore.
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, from the brand's perspective, this is a good thing. From the brand's perspective, this is the brand saying, or even take, guys like Pepsi or Coke or any of these guys. I mean, this is the brand saying, for the first time in the history of our companies, we have a direct relationship with the customer. We can influence their decision. We can do a lot of things. We have this open communication channel to the customer. Yeah. But what it means by result of that, it means that the retailer or the restaurateur or the whoever before had the relationship is now challenged, right, by that, and I think a lot of them are going to fight back. Personally,
it's an interesting play. Like they're trying things out, but good for the brand, not so good for the location, and All right, so now tell me what you like about this. This is ShopKick is getting into your living room.
ShopKick into your living room. So this is complete thumbs up for me. Where I'm not very, very positive on what we just talked about. What I am positive is on the whole LBMA validation of bringing the different media channels together around driving location-based marketing. Right. And so what we're talking about here is ShopKick has said, look, we've done this deal with the CW, the television network, the CW. Who, by the way, is from the last ratings I just saw this week that compare all the networks and how all their fall TV shows are doing, is doing the worst of anybody at the moment. They don't have anything that's just rocking it. So
I've been frantically looking for a show that I've watched, but
well, there's no more Smallville, right? So
what?
Anyways, so the CW has partnered with ShopKick, and what they've done is this is really cool. So, as you know, ShopKick's technology works on the basis of using the microphone on a smartphone to listen to an ultrasound signal. And then that's how they determine your position in the store. And so what they've done is they said, look, we're going to take the same principle of that technology, and we've partnered with the CW, and while you're watching a CW TV show and there's commercials related to that show, the app is sitting there running in your living room, and it's listening for certain triggers, the same as it's listening for triggers when it's in the store. And when it hears certain things, basically it kicks in. It's kind of like Into Now or Shazam or any of those kinds of audio listening technologies. Effectively, you then are checking into to the content that you're seeing on this television. But the result is then it then pushes you offers or deals that then drive you to the retail locations that are connected to these partnerships. So what we have there is this kind of bringing together of the television medium, the mobile medium, but applied inside of your home or wherever you're consuming that television from, and then connecting that to driving footfall or traffic to retail location and actually redeeming and spending money on product. So this I love, because this is exactly what I talk about every day about how we start to bring all these mediums together.
I definitely love this, because it's when you get into the living room like this, I think that this is of great value. When you I've talked about this quite often, which is that gap. It might be only a 4 or 5 foot gap between your couch and your television set, but it's the deepest crevice. It's the biggest challenge to bridge that gap. How do you get an ad that's displayed or a television show that's being displayed and get some interactivity and bring a two-way dialogue to a medium that is predominantly for its entire existence been one way, pushing you information. So I definitely like this. You know what? I'm challenged by this though. Humans. Mm-hmm. Challenged by humans. They're everywhere. It's like a plague on this planet. There's 7 billion of these people. But when I'm sitting on my couch and you've convinced me to do this, you've convinced me to watch a television show on the CW network, which I guess is a challenge these days. Mm-hmm. No offense. And we're looking for sponsors, CW. If you want to increase your awareness, we could bring you a few people.
Totally.
CW. So I'm watching CW, and I've got the ShopKick app loaded, which is something. Now there's 2 actions that I have to do: load the ShopKick app and watch CW. And then sit through an ad, right? Because that's when it's activated. So the ad comes on, and I've got to sit through it. So that's usually when I go get my Cheerios. So I gotta do that. I gotta sit through the ad, and then that ad gives me sends a signal. It's like a dog whistle, right? Ultimately, like that. It has a reaction with the app. It triggers something like a coupon. That's great. I'm ecstatic. I want to redeem right then. My challenge is that don't make me go into the store of that ad.
Yeah, let me redeem or something at that point.
Yeah, don't make me wait till the next morning, get in my car, go to the store to redeem that ad, or make me remember that I have that coupon or whatever it is. Right. Let me do it right away. You want to bridge that gap? You've got it so close. But then you're like, if I'm interested in it, let me buy it right away.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. But I think the other point here that we're not talking about, and I think this is the key of when I talk about this integration of media piece is going into the home and delivering this functionality over television effectively. At the end of the day, from the advertiser's perspective, this is why this is so important, is because of the reach that it brings. Right. So at the end of the day, if we look at just the ShopKick app by itself and how many users there are, or even the Foursquare app or any of those kind of stuff. I mean, ShopKick's got like 2 million users. Foursquare's got like 10 million users. Which, when you contrast either of those guys, or you can add up all of the apps, right? It's nowhere near the television reach. Right?
But maybe for CW, 2 million people is a lot of people.
Maybe. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think what this is about is, increasing the reach. From a ShopKick's perspective, this is about increasing reach, getting more people, knowledgeable about the app, adding value in terms of what you can do with the app. And from the advertiser's perspective, we can argue, we don't know what the numbers are, but we can assume that the reach is bigger on the television side than it is through the app by itself.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right.
I agree.
So this is as much about reach as it is about anything.
Yeah, but I think that what you're talking about is reach and frequency, right? This is what we preach, but it's also about driving tonnage, creating brand awareness or driving tonnage. So mobile has that ability. So like literally, I love everything up to the point where I see it on my phone. It's like, okay, there it is. I want to hit just one button. Just show me. It's like buy.
You should be able to buy this thing. So.
Buy. So hopefully that comes, right? But it's probably a test bed. It's like, a lot of app developers that I speak to from on Untether.tv, they say, listen, we're going to do a soft launch in Canada to beta test before we go to the US. Maybe they're doing a soft launch on CW because it's got a small audience to do the beta test, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But CW, we can help you. We can bring in these 10 more viewers if you sponsor the show. Okay, I need a laugh track or something, Asif. Maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
In the night.
Anyway.
So those are the 5 stories. Living Social with Twitter integration, yawner, who cares? But Me+3, we're pretty happy about that. TomTom launches something with a terrible name called Custom Probe Counts. Great idea, terrible name. Poynt and the Times Group launch Poynt Times in India, which is a massive market, 868 million mobile users. ShopKick, 2 things. KickBuys and the partnership with Giant Eagle. Which, Asif is kind of like here.
Yep.
And the ShopKick ties with TV, obviously this partnership with CW and the advertisement. I mean, I think you're enthusiastically thumbs up. I'm like, if I could buy, I would say that this is the perfect product.
Okay.
5 stories?
Well, there's always got to be room for improvement, Rob. Come on.
There has to be. Yeah. And, to ask me next week and it'll be like, that's a terrible product. Augmented reality. That's the way to do it. Right.
Anyways,
let's talk about a little bit of funding news. The first thing that we've heard this week, which is grumblings, is it in? Is it on? Is it off? Is it on? Is it off? Is this Groupon IPO? And good Lord, just go public and get it over with, right?
Yeah.
So it's on.
It's on. They did the initial filing. So basically they're saying they're going to sell 30 million shares at $16 to $18 a pop, and that's going to raise them between $480 and $540 million at a valuation of $11.4 billion. So yeah. So when you net it all out, if the value is $11.4 billion, basically they're selling 30 million shares, which is just under 5% of the company, about 4.7 something percent of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is down from their original prospectus in the summer of I think $20 to $22 billion in valuation.
Yes.
So
it's like half.
Pretty significant. But the other news that they came out with was that they're basically break even.
Yeah,
this last quarter,
which actually surprised me. You know, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, they've been shedding markets, they've been cutting people, they've been kind of getting this thing down to something that's sustainable. So we'll see. I'm still not a big fan of the model. I think the business model itself, the margin issues, I don't think there's enough there on the loyalty side. Me+3 would be good for them.
And here's where you hope LivingSocial actually put a patent or something around it protecting that idea.
Yeah.
It'll be Me+4.
Right.
That's what it will be.
Yes.
So Groupon's IPO, almost a $12 billion valuation. They're going to raise half of what they raised in their last venture round. This is what I don't understand. Why go public? Like, why go public? This is not a liquidation event, obviously.
So LivingSocial's got Me+3. They'll go by the old name High Five.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. They will. My five. High five.
High five.
So that's, I don't know. I think we'll talk more about the Groupon public offering when it actually goes public, if it actually does. I just scratch my head. I don't know why any company would want to go public because of the scrutiny that it puts you under. You have to basically disclose all of your financial information to your competitors. I don't get it. And especially for this little amount of money, when they raised $1 billion in venture, and they're just about on that threshold of break even or profitability. If that's true, then what are they doing this for? It's not an exit. Nobody's getting rich off of this, especially the guys who put $1 billion in the last time. So I don't get it. Good luck. I don't get it. And hopefully this just precipitates, this industry to mature. Maybe that's what'll happen. So speaking of mature industries, our second, this is an actual investment. How about another photo sharing app?
Yeah, because there's not enough out there. I mean, we talked about Flickr recently. Instagram, Color, Eve. There's all these guys. But here's one called Pose. It's Pose. It's a app that's targeted at the fashion, shopping, and style vertical.
Obviously, with my white T-shirt, I'm right in there, right?
Huh?
I'm styling.
You're all about style.
I am. Toronto was All Style Week. Come on.
Oh, it's Fashion Week.
Fashion Week. That's right.
Yeah. LG Fashion Week.
I call it Style Week.
Yeah, Pose should be like a sponsor for that.
No kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, so they raised $3 million, Series A. They got GRP partners, True Ventures, Moose partners.
Moose partners.
Never heard of Moose, and it's Moose as in like hair mousse is the spelling.
Oh, not like Canadian Moose, because I was going to say that's a perfect Canadian VC name.
Moose part. So maybe that's a fashion thing too. I don't know. Maybe that's a venture firm that invests in fashion and style. Anyways,
$3 million.
$3 million. So this is not much to say about this one. It's an app. You're out shopping. You take photos of what you're buying or what you're thinking about buying. You share them with your friends. You can tag it. You can tag the price. You can do a bunch of stuff. So this is just it's a mobile shopping photo sharing service, like
food spotting kind of thing.
Yeah, but for fashion.
Food spotting for fashion.
Yeah. So they've got some American Eagle's been using it. DKNY's using it. Levi's. There's a few others that have been playing around with it.
Pose.
We talked about one similar recently, Snapette. That was the other one we talked about.
Snapette.
That's in a similar space, yeah.
These companies, I like Pose. I like the name Pose. I think it's
there's
perfect.
Pose, and there's another one too. I think it's called Fascism or something like that.
Nice, nice. Well,
Yeah.
This is a competitive space, and I'm interested to see how they make money. It's got to be through sponsorship or brand building. So Pose raises $1 million, $3 million. Groupon is going to go public for $480 to $540 million. We say good luck to both those companies.
Yeah.
Which one stands, we don't know.
Who knows?
All right, let's talk about this. Our product of the week, it's something called MapQuest Vibe.
Yeah, so MapQuest, I mean, I brought this one out. I actually had a chance to hang out with the MapQuest folks this week at the LocNav conference, and it just kind of got me thinking about this. So MapQuest is a company that's been around for a long time, 15 years or so.
Well, they pioneered the local map, right, which was the directional map.
Totally, and so they compete with Google and Yahoo on the mapping side. I mean that they're kind of the big three. And MapQuest, it's a company that was acquired a while ago by Nokia, so they're part of Nokia now, but they still kind of operate as MapQuest. And you probably know as well that there's this I think there's some other stuff that's coming with this, but this thing's called Vibe. And what Vibe is basically a ranking system of where users basically vote on searches, across MapQuest data, and kind of rank neighborhoods and restaurants and attractions that are tied to those maps. And so the difference here is that as opposed to rating just specific places or giving specific places a rating, I just said the same thing twice in two different ways.
Yes. It's okay. It's late.
Yeah. What you're doing here is you're rating a neighborhood, or a neighborhood itself has a vibe,
right,
that they're trying to deliver through this system, or a personality is how they put it. So you're basically getting a personality for a neighborhood.
You know what? And I guess it's done through the accrual of these locations. So
it's the aggregation.
Yeah, I looked up New York and I said, okay, so give me the key attraction to go see, or when I'm walking, and it was the typical ones. But then it kind of, when it's rated, I guess, from the users, the aggregation of that rating gives that neighborhood a certain level of vibe. And people are using, I guess you could use this to go if you're a tourist, to find out where to go that's cool if you're a tourist, or if you're moving to a city, to go and find out a neighborhood that actually is a safe neighborhood, or one of these hip neighborhoods that are up and coming. I mean, I think so. I don't know. I haven't asked you what you think about this. We haven't talked about it before, but I like this. I think this is a neat way of doing it. I don't think it's unique in any way, but I love the way that it's presented here. That it's a neighborhood vibe. It's a cool way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, it is, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet myself. I haven't had a chance to play with this as iPhone.
Well, it's not available in Canada, so you gotta kind of put yourself in the States. But
yeah. But I also understand it, and I could be wrong on this, but I understand that the vibe itself is also delivered in the form of a vibration of the phone. So the interesting thing about this as well is that if you're let's say visually or hearing impaired or something like that, you're able to kind of pick up on these kinds of things as well. So that's kind of interesting.
I like it. It's like what was that movie with John Travolta where he had the brain tumor and he could feel the sonic waves of an earthquake. I suppose it's kind of like that, right? Where if your phone is intensely vibrating, it's because this place is the coolest place you've ever been, right?
Yeah.
And then as you walk away, it's like colder.
Yeah.
Colder.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing as well. So I think there's some interesting cool elements to the way this thing works. I mean, again, I think this is, we talk a lot about, is it a feature, is it a product? It could be a feature. I think this is something that could easily be done by a bunch of people, but I think MapQuest has 15 years of history and data. That's hard to replicate.
Well, it is, and it's good that they're kind of poking their head up here. Go to mqvibe.mapquest.com and you'll be able to check it out.
Yeah.
Only, unfortunately, there are no Canadian cities, just American cities.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go down there, you'll be able to find out some of the great things. If you, like, for example,
it's 27,000 U.S. cities covering 50,000 neighborhoods.
It's pretty awesome. That's pretty great. And you know, again, it comes down to data. How do you take this data and put it in a way, in a UI that actually makes sense? And this actually, once you get around it, you gotta understand what it is. But the UI, the data display is very cool. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
Way to go, MapQuest. Your directions always took me to the wrong part of town, but this actually might look good.
Oh no.
Oh no. They're not sponsoring us either. MapQuest out. Pretty soon, listen, Rob, you know what? We really appreciate your effort on this podcast, but we can't make a dime off of it because you talk. So you got to leave before we get any sponsors.
Right.
No.
Right.
All right, our last story. Let's get back on track here, Woodbridge. The resource of the week, which is, we talked about this a little bit earlier, which is augmented reality. Come on. This is the most underrated, underused, underappreciated technology, I think, that's out there. So what are we talking about here? They think that this is going to skyrocket.
They think, I mean, yeah, exactly. So this is a technology that, you know, the people are playing with in little pockets, and we don't hear a lot about, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of dollars or ad dollars being spent on this, but some of the new studies that are out from Gartner and Forrester and other guys are saying this is a market that's going to grow, and it's going to grow, you know, pretty fast. And so there's some interesting studies out there. I mean, what did you think of the numbers?
Well, I mean, the big number here is that they say that augmented reality applications are projected to reach nearly 1 billion applications by 2016. Mm-hmm. And you know, I just finished speaking with the folks at Torstar yesterday, and saying that anybody who projects anything beyond the next 9 months or the next 2 years at the off end is full of it. So I'm going to have to follow through with this and say, look, you know what? Who knows? But I do believe that the escalation, we're on that ramp. But it's not about, you know, the typical augmented reality that we see today. It's nobody knows. So if they're projecting about what we know today into that billion app by 2016, I don't believe it. I think that there's going to be far more interactions with augmented reality because we haven't invented the appropriate way to do it yet, right? So
no, and I think the revenue numbers that they're talking about that go with that are pretty interesting too. I mean, they're basically saying last year there's only like $21 million made in augmented reality. This year it's 87 million. So, you know, it's up, it's growing. That's a pretty good sizable growth year over year. But they're saying this is going to be 3 billion by 2016. So that's pretty fast.
How do you wrap a number around something like augmented reality?
I have no idea. So 1 billion downloads and 3 billion in revenue by 2016.
Yeah. You know, I believe that augmented reality is going to be massive. It's going to help facilitate a whole bunch of things that we can't do in the real world. I think it brings to life print and billboards in a way that we're not even thinking about right now. It brings to life navigation units in a car. It brings to life everything. A window, any window in your house, right? Or your mirror. We've all seen these kind of things. But I just don't think it'll bring you know, another layer to television set and advertisements. But I just don't think that the guys who are looking at this are thinking about that kind of stuff, because I think that it's an enabler to revenue. I don't think that you can attribute revenue to augmented reality. So I think that this is underrating the importance of this technology, but I do believe that it's going to be a huge revenue contributor to a lot of things, and but I think it's going to be in a completely different way that we're seeing it today.
Yep. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I think, I mean, there's no question this market's going to grow. The question is how fast and how is it going to be applied?
Yeah.
Right?
And stop trying to predict to 2016. Like, just stop. God. You were the same people that missed...
Next 12 months.
Well, yeah, but they're the same... Yeah, exactly. Tell me who's going to win the World Series in 2016, please.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, I'll be impressed. But
well, the Leafs lost their first game last night, so... You
know. I think the Sens won their first game last night. Who would have predicted that?
Yeah.
But stop predicting to 2016. These are the same guys that didn't get mobile. They didn't appreciate the fact that there were going to be this whole thing called apps. They also are the ones who didn't get the iPad, who thought it was going to be the year of the netbook. I keep saying this. So when you see a number like this by 2016, call BS on it. Look out a year from now, because those are the numbers that, based on the information that we have today, they can predict. They can project. Right? Because it's the way that we do things today. 2016, I mean, We're 2011. 5 years out? Think about where you were 5 years ago. 10 years ago, the iPod didn't exist, man. 10 years ago. How can they think that the next 5 years are going to stay the same course, right? We're going to see some massive transformation that we've never heard.
Man, people are paying big money for this study.
Well, they should be paying us big money to snap some reality back to this because.
Anyways.
Well, so augmented reality. I think it's an underrated technology. I love the technology. I just don't think that we're using it the appropriate way, and I think that we're going to start seeing that come in as these devices, the dual core processors.
You know what's coming next? Come on, ShopKick doing augmented reality in your home,
in your living room.
Yeah.
Oh man. Exactly. All right, so. I don't know what else we can say about this. We've killed that.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to be watching the CW. The app's going to be listening in. It's going to pick up on that. They're going to push you an offer for the product you see in the commercial. And the product's going to materialize in front of you.
Nice.
In augmented reality. And then you're going to be able to buy it.
You're going to virtually buy it, and then it's going to print it out.
And then it's going to be delivered.
Oh, man. Well, you know, I look forward to this time when we can do that. Because then it's actually closing that gap. But until then... Look for it. A billion apps, and I say, "Bo, it's going to be in every app." Jesus. Anyway.
Totally.
So that's it. So the big 5 stories, the 2 funding opportunities, Groupon and Pose. We got the product of the week, which is MapQuest Vibe, and we've got this study that says that augmented reality is going to be massive. That's it. That's all.
That's it.
So I think we'll be back to our regular scheduled day and time next week. So for episode number 49. But if you've got any feedback from this one, we really appreciate it. If we said anything that's offensive to you or that you disagree with, man, bring it. Bring it. We're not afraid of
let us know. You know, and I continue to meet people everywhere I go that are watching this and you know, giving us great ideas and great feedback. So we appreciate that. And the last thing is if you're in New York and you're listening to this coming Wednesday, that's the 26th, where the LBMA is hosting an event in New York with a great panel. So we've got JetBlue Airlines, we've got JWT's folks that work on the Macy's account, you know, obviously talking about what they've been doing with ShopKick and some other stuff. We've got Tasty Delight on that panel. So it's going to be a great event to understand how retailers and brands are playing around with this stuff. So New York in the evening, 6 to 9 o'clock on the 26th. Be there.
So register at thelbma.com?
Yep.
Okay. That's great. Well, what a week. And I can't wait to hear about that. Do you film these things? You should.
Yeah.
You should just put like an iPhone 4S.
Yeah,
with
get a head cam.
Yeah, exactly. That's so great. But everybody on the panel has to wear one.
Right.
So it's like a bunch of bobbing heads like this, but they get the great panorama of the crowd.
For sure.
All right. We are done here, Asif. Show up in New York if you can on Wednesday. If not, you can always tune in here for a summary of what went on, and we'll be sure to bring it to you for episode number 49 next week.
All right.
Asif, thank you. Appreciate you traveling overnight to get to this episode, the filming of this episode. And thank you guys for watching and listening wherever you are. We really appreciate it. Reach out at us. You know by now how to reach us, but untethered@gmail.com. For me, you can reach Asif at follow him on Twitter at @thelbma and myself at Rob Woodbridge. We'll see you next time for episode number 49 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Cheers.